I am the mighty ocean. I hold so many secrets in my depths. I'm deeper than you could even imagine. Even though my water is salty, when I send it up into the sky to become clouds and then send you rain, it's always sweet. I have a lot of stories to tell. Do you want to hear one? Once, many, many years ago, on the southernmost tip of India, I noticed a huge army coming toward me. It was not an ordinary army. It was full of vanaras, monkeys and bears. And at the front of it were two men. They walked as if they owned the earth, but they were dressed like beggars in tree bark. They looked like one soul had been split into two bodies, as if the older brother's soul was reflected in his younger brother's, completely complementary. When they came to my shore, I looked into the brother's eyes. One of them was calm, and he joined his hands and bowed to me. In his eyes was more depth than I had seen in any human's eyes, even in any God's eyes. Who was he? But there was also sadness there, especially when he looked across my waters toward that island in the distance. It was as if a part of his heart, his entire heart, had been taken away, and it was there. His brother was not so calm. He was pacing back and forth, and he said, "Bhaiya Ram," so that was his name, Ram. "Bhaiya Ram, you're powerful enough to burn this ocean in an instant. Just one of your arrows can do it. So what are you waiting for? Do it so our army can cross and go and rescue Mother Sita." Oh, they wanted to take their army across my waters? How was that even possible? And Sita, now I remember. A woman had been taken across in the sky over my waters in a divine flying chariot by an evil demon, Ravan. I remembered now. So that is who Ram had come to seek. But rather than take his brother's advice, Ram looked at him and said, "Lakshman, I can't just use my power like that." His gaze was full of humility as he looked at me, and he said, "O mighty ocean, I need to get my army across your waters. I need to go to Lanka. I need to challenge King Ravan to a war. And I need to bring Sita back to me. This is a fight between dharma and adharma. I have to do what is right, and you, O mighty ocean, can help me. Please give me way so I can go and fight this war." But I'm the ocean. I'm not a little stream you can cross. And I'm not something that can be directed by a mere human being. So I stayed silent, or rather, I just roared. So while his brother got angrier, Rama just sat on my shore, cross-legged, closing his eyes and folding his hands, and he began to meditate. And this prince of the Surya dynasty, this Suryavanshi Ram, began to glow like the sun. And I felt the heat, just like the sun, radiating from him as he meditated. His brother Lakshman began to pace back and forth, and he walked over to a Vanar who looked extraordinarily strong, standing there with the gada in his hand. I recognized that Vanar. He had made a tremendous leap over my waters not too long ago, and I had been marveling at this monkey who could fly, and he flew like it was just play for him. And Lakshman and Hanuman, that was the monkey's name, the son of the wind, began to whisper to one another. And Lakshman gestured toward me, and I could sense in his gestures that he too held the power to do who knows what. But his brother's tapas was holding him back. I wondered what I could do. So I watched as Rama meditated for 1 day, 2 days, and 3 whole days, no food, no water, and the entire army sat there on the beach, looking at my raging waves and at Rama, and they waited too. On the 3rd day, in the evening, Ram opened his eyes. There was no anger in them, but there was a tremendous resolve. And I began to feel uneasy. Lakshman had been waiting for this moment. He ran and brought Rama's bow and handed it to him. "It's time, Bhaiya." And Ram took his bow and removed 1 arrow from his quiver. He fixed it to the bow and then aimed it deep into my depths. And he began to chant a mantra under his breath. And as he chanted, he began to glow like the sun, and not that sun that was in the distance that warmed me and took droplets of mine up into the air as clouds. Not that sun. This was a living, breathing, radiant sun on my very shore. And his arrow began to glow like fire. And I knew that if he released that arrow, the ocean, as all of you know it, I would be utterly destroyed. And when he pulled that bowstring back until it nearly touched his ears, I came out in human form and I said, I surrender, Rama, I surrender. I will give you way. I can't separate from my own dharma. My dharma is to cover this ocean bed. My dharma is to cover the earth with my water. Tell me. We have to find a way. And then I saw twin monkeys, twin Vanas over there. And I recognized them. And I said to Rama, I have it. Those are the twin sons of Vishwakarma, the divine architect, and they can build anything. Ask them to build a bridge across my waters to Lanka. I will support that bridge with all of my waves. And you know, I've heard, Rama, that with your name, anyone can travel this ocean of worldly troubles. So every rock with your name on it will surely float across my waters. And so Rama put his arrow away and he blessed me. And I felt newly purified. I, the ocean, had been blessed by the Suryavanshi Ram. And then that army leaped into action. They brought stone after stone, and Nal and Neel came to my shore and made plans. They designed that bridge. And then one after another, the monkeys wrote Sri Rama on every stone and threw it into my waters, and I held it up with everything I had. Among all the Vanaras and bears, among this entire army, there was a teeny tiny little chipmunk. And the chipmunk was running around. It was so tiny, it almost got crushed by all these feet. But it ran around and it took little bits of rock, and wherever there was some space between those rocks, I noticed that it would go and place a tiny pebble there. And it did it again and again. And pretty soon, some of the Vanars noticed and they started to laugh. They said, "What are you doing? You're so tiny, you can't really help us. Get out of the way, you're gonna get crushed." But Rama saw the chipmunk too, and he picked it up in his hand and he said, "Anyone, no matter how small, can be part of some divine work like this." And with his long fingers, he stroked the chipmunk from the top of its head to the tip of its tail. And that is why all chipmunks have 3 lines along their back. Those are Rama's finger marks. And so with the chipmunk's help, and with all the animals' help, and with the entire army's strength and unity, that bridge was built. And I, for the first time, the ocean, was bound. I was bound by friendship. I was bound by the love between Ram and Sita. I was bound by the devotion of the Vanar army. I was bound by my own devotion to Rama. It's a humbling tale, and I've shared it with you today. But I hope you enjoyed, and we'll meet again for another story. I can't tell you all of my secrets, but pretty soon I'll tell you another tale. Jai Shri Ram.